I'm fearful about the answer you're going to give me on this one, AJ. My son Mitchell has never been sick in his life, but when he goes away and he comes home, he always comes home sick with a cold, or within the few days of arriving home. So I always put it down to, well, what did you eat while you were away, darling? You know, you didn't look after yourself, you know, like Mum looks after you. So what's that about?
What do you think it might be about, Barbara?
Well, I've got this deep-seated fear that you're going to say...
Go with your fear.
I didn't want him to come back. And he felt that.
No, that's not what I'm going to say.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know why you'd thank me. If it was the truth, I would say it. Whoops. What do you think it might be?
Well, you've said to me before that emotionally he feels responsible for my emotions. So is it connected with that?
Yes, it is very connected with that. Yes, very connected with that. And many of you don't realise that when I give you a general one-line comment, there's usually a lot in it.
Yeah.
Right? And a one-line comment I gave to Barb some time ago, probably a few years ago now, was that she's very emotionally invested in her son. Now, he feels that emotional investment as oppression. When he comes home, there's the difference between when he was away not feeling oppressed and when he comes home, he's now back into oppression. And in that particular moment, there's automatic stress in his body, which automatically attracts a virus or a cold or something like that. Does that make sense? Because when he's with you, he does not notice that he's being oppressed so much as when he's not with you and comes back. Does everyone understand why that's the case? So it's like, if you're living in a situation that you tolerate or have to tolerate, you get used to it, don't you? Have you found that with your sense of smell? You can be right next to a sewage plant, and after, I think there's a period of time, I'm not sure how long it is, but I think it's about an hour or a bit less or something like that. I'm not sure how long the time is, but there's a time where you actually become detuned from that smell, and you actually sit there living in it quite happily, right? Because you don't even notice the smell anymore. And it's very much like that with your life. We're often sitting in deep levels of fear and other emotions in our life, not realising what's getting projected at us because it's normal. We've become desensitised. It's the old adage that if you put a... what does it normally use, a frog or a frog into boiling water, of course he'll jump out straight away. You put him in cold water and you heat it up slowly, he will stay and boil to death. And we're exactly the same. We're exactly the same as that. You put us in an environment for long enough and slowly, you know, change the environment. We tolerate it. We tolerate and tolerate it and tolerate it and tolerate it until, you know, until the point that something happens where we feel it's unbearable. We will continue to tolerate it, unfortunately. But when you go away from it for a week or 2 weeks or whatever and then come back to it, you find it initially intolerable. And as a result of that, that is the time when your body goes into stress, your soul is in stress, causes your spirit body to get upset in terms of its energy system flow, and your physical body usually manifests some kind of illness or sickness as a result. So, he's telling you...
I knew I wasn't going to like your answer.
Yeah, you knew you wasn't going to like the answer, but it wasn't the one you were expecting. But he's telling you that he still feels this terrible feeling of emotional investment that you have in him. And if you look at your law of attraction with men, you can see why you've had emotional investment in your son. You've wanted to create a perfect male that you can interrelate with and get a lot of your needs as a female met from a male, your son. You don't get every need met, but you get a lot of them met, and then you don't need another man in your life as a result. And this is the projection that he feels every time he comes home, every single time. And so it's an indication that that's not healed inside of you. he will actually enjoy coming home, and you will actually enjoy him either leaving or coming home. Either way, it won't bother you once you work through that emotion. Yeah. Can you see again the relationship between the cause and effect? Like you can start looking at what it is from a physical perspective and say, and you do, don't you? You say, okay, what have you picked up? What bug? Who are you with? What have they got? Maybe we need to.
How many girls did you kiss?
Yeah. How many girls did you kiss? Who were they? You've probably got it from one of them. And you also then make up concoctions. You know, here you go. Here's your vitamin C drink or whatever it is that you want to make up to cure the problem that actually has a completely different cause. And as a result, will happen every single time, or most times, he goes away and comes back home.
The interesting thing with that, AJ, is that he often rings and says, can I come home earlier?
Of course, because you see, he is totally emotionally invested and you are totally emotionally invested in his emotion. So here he is, here you are, right? He can feel you and he feels your emotional investment in him. And when you have a feeling, oh, I'd like to have him home. Oh, I'd like to have the man around. I'd like to have all those feelings that you have, he is automatically feeling. And of course he's going to ring you up, say, I'd like to come home. And you go, oh, at last he's coming home. I'm so relieved.
That's exactly what happened just this week.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So again, he's just showing to you, and see, this is where we go as a parent. But he wanted to do it. Yeah, of course he wanted to do it. He's emotionally invested in you for the whole of his life. Of course he wants to do what you want him to do. That's what he wants. He thinks that is what he wants. He doesn't have the freedom to make any other choice. And that's the cause. So him even phoning you and saying he wants to come home is because of whose soul? Your soul. Yep. Yep. And of course his response to that he's learned now in his soul over the period of his, 18 years or whatever it is. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Good.